To repair this truck, the mechanics barely had time to celebrate the new year. Currently, the truck, due to severe overloading, had its rear axle completely severed, and the tires had burst. Under the powerful impact, the brake axle also broke off. Even so, they could still put it back together. Of course, welding wasn't feasible on site, so the mechanics needed to remove the rear axle. Removing a rear axle like this wasn't difficult, as there weren't many parts, just brakes, rocker arms, and brake pumps. The difficulty lay in the lack of protective covers. They had to disassemble it manually, piece by piece. While disassembling the U-bolts, the foreman nearly suffered a serious injury because the socket wasn't properly fitted. Despite the pain, he didn't stop to rest, but continued working with a light-hearted attitude. They firmly believed that as long as one could endure hardship, there would be endless suffering. Entering the building, one should have the ambition of Hong Hu, a legendary martial arts master. Even if one is as thin as paper, one should have an indomitable spirit. When fortunes turn, one will eventually be able to enjoy a life of luxury and face death every night. Thinking of this, they worked with increasing enthusiasm. In less than an hour, the foreman was able to manually remove all the attachments. Next, simply remove the yoke bolts and then the tie rod. This allows you to release the pressure on the jack and slowly lower the rear axle. Once the rear axle is removed, you can use a 3-wheeled vehicle to tow it back to the shop. After a long and arduous journey, you finally arrive in Peshawar, Pakistan. At the shop run by the bespectacled uncle, you'll find the best value for money within a 100-kilometer radius. He only charges 2,000 rupees for each repair. After securing the rear axle to the bracket, they first clean the undamaged bushings with diesel fuel to ensure accurate distance measurements later. To ensure the repaired bushing matched the original, they first needed to reassemble and mark it. Based on the mechanic's years of experience, glue wouldn't work. Welding was required. Furthermore, to ensure concentricity and coaxiality after welding, lathe machining was necessary, a highly precise process beyond the capabilities of most mechanics. Therefore, the bespectacled man personally oversaw the work, having repaired far more cars than they had just seen. He planned to first remove a tear at the cut surface. The bespectacled man intently observed every detail of the workpiece, his hands deftly controlling the movement of the cutting tool to ensure each cut was precise and smooth. As time passed, a perfect bevel gradually emerged. After removing the initial cut, he drilled a hole in the center of the cross-section, intending to later use an iron rod to join the two ends together. This would not only make them more secure, but also make it easier to find the center during the subsequent joining. However, this was no simple task. It required extreme precision. Therefore, the craftsman needed to measure the size of the iron rod with a precision of 1/1000th, and then use a carabiner for comparison. With the precise dimensions determined, an internal milling cutter was used to machine the previously drilled hole. This process was continued until the required dimensions were achieved. Once the animation processing was complete, the iron rod could be reinstalled. Before installation, some machine oil was applied for lubrication. This would make hammering it back easier. After the bespectacled uncle's haphazard hammering, a total of 81 blows, the iron rod was finally successfully hammered back in. Next, the rear axle section could be machined. To prevent excessive run-out during machining, the tail section needed to be secured using a center rest beforehand. After fixing and checking with a needle and confirming there are no problems, holes can be drilled using the same method and formula. Once the holes are drilled, the shaft and head parts can be reassembled. Before reassembly, the previously marked points need to be located. Point-to-point welding is required for splicing. Before welding, a caliper is used to measure and check, ensuring the dimensions are perfectly consistent after welding. Once the check is complete, welding can proceed. Welding such a large seam requires considerable skill and technique. During welding, the craftsman intentionally moves the work area and works in multiple layers. With the master craftsman's efforts, the weld was gradually completed, and the bridge section and bushing were tightly joined. This welding achievement is not only a testament to mechanical prowess, but also a manifestation of aesthetics. Next, the broken brake shaft can be addressed. It is first fixed to the lathe chuck, then aligned. After alignment, the bevel is removed and a tapered shape is machined out, making subsequent alignment easier. The other end also needs its bevel removed first. After machining the bevel, a positioning hole is drilled to prevent misalignment during splicing at both ends. Once spliced, they can be welded together to make it look more aesthetically pleasing overall. After welding, the protruding welds need to be smoothed out. Then it's done. Cancel, and their work is finished. Thanks to the mechanic's efforts, all the Hyundai parts were successfully restored, saving the car owner a considerable amount of money. Kudos to the mechanics for their superb craftsmanship. I'm not negotiating with you, I'm begging you.